India's attitude on the conflict between Russia and Ukraine is actually normal, and there is nothing unexpected. For India, whether it is consistent with the United States mainly depends on specific problems. On the issue of Russia, the attitude of the United States and India is completely different. India has always hoped to maintain a balance between the United States and Russia, or between the so-called Indo-Pacific Ocean and Eurasia continent. I think there are several reasons for this. First, for India, because as we know, 70% of its military equipment comes from Russia. Although it has imported more and more weaponry systems from the United States, France, and Israel, and other Western countries in recent years, Russian weaponry systems still account for the absolute proportion of India's armaments. In addition, on the issue of Russian-Ukraine conflict, India's attitude is actually a reflection of its so-called strategic autonomy. This stance of India fully shows its global power ambition. Its alliance or quasi-alliance with the United States is only to serve its global power ambition, I think. The first is that many Indians believe that the conflict between Russia and Ukraine was provoked by the Americans, and Russia has no other choice but to do that. The traditional relationship between India and Russia is very close. In fact, it's a semi-alliance. Because the Soviet Union supported India on many issues related to India's core interest, this historical memory and national emotion make India trust Russia very much. And secondly, I think it's a kind of worship of political strongman, because we know that Prime Minister Modi and President Putin are both political strongmen. This worship is actually a reflection of their domestic politics and a reflection of the prevalence of populism in India. Third, Indians feel that the United States forced Russia to provoke the conflict between Russia and Ukraine has created a lot of troubles to India, such as the rise in energy prices, which will lead to high inflation in India, which is a very, very big threat to India's economy. It can be understood that if China and India, as traditional large developing countries, speak the same voice on the issue of Ukraine and on the Russia and Ukraine, they will exert great influence on the world, especially on the developing world, and ultimately we can find a fair and reasonable path for the peaceful settlement of the issue of Russia and Ukraine, especially in today's environment where the mass media and public opinion of the United States and Western countries occupy the absolute advantage. So if China and India can cooperate, the United States and the West will not be able to realize their attempt to divide and rule China and India, which is not a benefit to the common development and the rise of China and India. The visit of State Councilor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi shows that China hopes to ease tensions between China and India and strengthen China-India cooperation. We can find in the past 2 years, India's China policy has failed, and now I think it's a time for India side to break it. Under the background of global geopolitical changes caused by the current Russia-Ukraine conflict, India also is very concerned that the conflict will cause the United States to shift its strategic focus to Europe, which will cause the American Indo-Pacific strategy lost its support. Therefore, India also hopes to ease its relationship with China to a certain extent. Moreover, China and India can cooperate on many international issues, such as energy prices, the stability of energy prices, and climate change, and other international issues. From the past 2 years' experience, I think India cannot achieve economic recovery without China's help.